Yeah, so I've sent you the outline for OD. It's not that long, but if you have checked it out, I think there are only 5 major areas that we're going to tackle in this subject here, OD, organization development. So the first topic that we're going to look at is on the introduction to OD. So look at the definition, the history, overview, process of OD, and diagnosis of OD. Then the next topic that we'll look at is the nature of planned OD. We'll talk about the types of change. We'll look at the models of change, and then we are also going to look at what is known as transformational change, trans-organizational change, leading and managing change, organization process approaches, and our OD interventions. So you might be wondering with the OD, what is it all about, this particular subject in OD? So basically in OD, what we are looking at is simply to do with the change. Okay? So basically what we're looking at is issues to do with the organization development. So as organizations are developing, what it means is that they are simply undergoing, again, issues to do with change. However, the only difference with this kind of change is that it is a planned change. So what does it mean, a planned change? It means we make plans and then we implement according to the what? To the plan. But the whole reason is because we want to make the organization to be more and more effective. So the emphasis is about making the organization to be effective. So why are we changing things? Is because we want to make things effective in the organization. But this type of change that we are looking at is not something that is accidental, but it's something that is deliberate. We are actually deliberately planning for this particular change. So that's what basically we're looking at. So there are different types of change. The other change there, as you have seen, is talking about transformational change. So transformational may mean that again, the entire organization changing things, so we're transforming in terms of the organization. Or it can be a trans-organizational change. So trans-organizational change is a change that is happening that we are looking at, like for example, issues concerning mergers, acquisitions, strategic alliance. Those are examples of trans-organizational change. And then we also look at how do we lead and manage change. So we all know that change is a very difficult process, and sometimes some employees within the organization will end up trying to resist in terms of this particular change. So therefore it means we have to find ways on how we can manage this particular change. And then we'll look at also certain organizational processes, and then we'll also look at OD interventions. So OD interventions, we're simply looking at organization development interventions. These interventions may mean that they are also trying to bring in change within the what? Within the organization. Yeah, so we'll talk about different interventions that we can use. For example, the human resource management intervention, the human process intervention, the technostructure intervention, as well as also the strategic intervention. So under this one, we'll look at 4 major interventions that we're going to look at, and actually one of which has also been mentioned down there, where it's looking at human resource interventions. So some of the interventions that are under the human resource, we're looking at issues concerning performance management, we're looking at issues of transformational change, and then again, area number 3, we'll talk about the special application of OD. For example, how do we change things in a global setting? So we do understand that some businesses are operating in different countries. As such, issues to do with change can also affect the other satellite branches that we are having in different countries, and how do we implement also this particular change in the respective countries. Then we also look at OD in a non-industrial setting, that if it's a non-industrial setting, how do we also bring in this particular change, and what is the future direction for organization development. And the last area that we're going to look at is on the web design. So on the web design, we're going to look at the engineering approach, and also we are going to look at the motivational approach. So basically that is the end of the syllabus. And those are the four main areas that we're going to emphasize on. So this syllabus may look short, but there are a lot of things that we will have to cover in terms of issues to do with change. But when it comes to the syllabus, we can see that the emphasis is on basically these four main areas. In terms of materials, you have those prescribed textbooks. Yeah, so one of the, at least the earliest book that we can see there is by French, which is OD, and that book is in 2012. So at least that is something that is quite recent. So you can try and find this particular book. It is one of the prescribed textbooks. Or you can basically try to find out any OD book, or books also that are talking about issues to do with the change management. We see also down there, organization behavior books can also assist you in this particular subject. So these are the main areas that we're going to cover as per our syllabus. So let's start by first of all defining what basically OD is all about. But maybe before we do that, we can have just like a brief introduction what OD is all about, then we'll define what OD is all about. So just as an introduction, is that all organization development is directed at bringing about planned change to increase an organization's effectiveness and capability to change itself. So as I said, is that the emphasis is that what we are looking at is that this type of change is a planned change. Yeah. So as I said, there can be changes that also happen accidentally. Yeah. That because of certain changes that are happening in the environment, because we say that the environment is dynamic, so those changes can be things that are also happening accidentally. But our emphasis in OD is that we are simply looking at change that is planned. So why are we changing? So we're saying that it is directed at bringing about planned change to increase organization effectiveness. So like I have said, is that what we are looking at is that at the end of the day, the change that we are bringing in an organization is to make the organization more effective. So effective in terms of how do we accomplish in terms of our objectives. So that's the mere definition that I can give about if we're saying that an organization is effective. Of course, we have seen that when we read a lot of management books, you find that these two go hand in hand when we're talking about effectiveness, and we're also talking about issues of what? Efficiency. Yeah? But efficiency is we're looking at how fast. It's to do with time. Yeah, how quick can it be done? Yeah, but besides that, we're being fast, but how thorough are we in terms of accomplishing those objectives? Are we fully accomplishing those objectives, or it's something that is half-baked? Or we're looking at a quarter accomplishment. Yes, it's an accomplishment, but how you have done it probably is not the effective way. So effective way may mean that maybe again you're using few resources, okay? Because you can get something accomplished from an organization, or maybe you've used a lot of resources to the organization, you haven't been effective in doing that. But also effectiveness can also be in terms of the time that you're spending in terms of to get that accomplished. For example, if you want to accomplish a specific objective, but it's taking you 5, 10 years, in other words, there again, you're not being effective because you are using a lot of what? Time and resources. Yeah, so what we are looking at is that we want to make sure that the organization is being effective and capable of basically changing itself. So as a definition, according to a guy known as Warner Book, he says that organization development is a planned process of change. Organization development is a planned process of change in an organization's culture, in an organization's culture through the utilization of behavioral science technology, research, and theory. Yeah. So to break it down, we are saying that number one, it's a process of change in an organization's culture. So one of the things that we are looking at is also to change in terms of the what? Culture. And you and I understand that it's not easy to change someone's culture. Because you are used to doing that. So somebody should say, no, from now onwards, don't wear a trouser like this. It's something that is not easy to accept. Yeah, because it's something that you're used to, because it is a culture way of doing things. So one of the things that we're looking at is that people should not be fond of doing one way of doing things. So say, no, when you want to do this, no. Things are what? Yeah, so the organization also has to adapt to that by changing things, because by changing things, what we are saying is that we are making the organization to become more and more what? Because there are so many ways on how you can kill a bird. So many ways on how you can kill a bird. So it means you have to find ways, different ways, and probably find another faster way or another method that can use less what? Resources. Yeah. So one of the issues that we are looking at even in this definition is also emphasizing on the issue of technology. Because again, technology helps organization again to become more and more what? Effective. Okay? And again, what we're saying is also research. Because whatever we're doing in terms of decisions or processes that we're bringing in within the organization, they have to be based on specific research that we have conducted. So we have information, we understand the problem and the context of the problem. How do we approach this particular problem? But also research can also help us to know that there are certain strategies that we want to implement in the organization and to see the level of effectiveness of that particular strategy. So if we know that another organization has applied that particular strategy and it didn't help them, why should you adopt the same strategy? Unless maybe you want to modify it in a certain way, yes? Yeah. So research will also help us to know what is right, what is wrong, what is working in organization and what is not working in an organization. Yeah. But also we are saying that we use again different theories. So we cannot also run away from the background, from the basis of the theories that we have learned, because these are scientifically what? Proven. It works. Yeah, so that's something that again we have to also understand, that as we are going through this particular change, is to also understand the various theories. Of course, we'll talk about also different change theories that we are also going to apply in our subject. So the second area that we want to look at is on the key elements in OD. What are some of the key elements in OD? So what are the key elements? The first element, so I'll be giving you an abbreviation just to say OD, but what it means is we're talking about organization development. Yes? Yeah, I'm going to throw out the Zungolembe organization, we can just write in the short form OD. So OD applies to changes in the strategy. The first element that we're looking at is that OD applies to changes in the strategy. Yes, changes in the strategy. Applies to changes in the strategy. Structure. And processes of an entire system. Or processes of an entire system. Such as an organization. So what are we trying to say? Is that it means this change that we are talking about can be something that is specifically focusing on something. For example, the strategy or the structure, or what we are looking at is the entire system of the organization in terms of its what? Processes. Okay? So the system that we are looking at is as an organization. So which means the change can happen partially or the entire organization. Right? That's what we are trying to emphasize. So that's the first element that you have to understand about OT, is that it can focus either on a specific strategy, it can focus on a structure, or it is basically looking at the entire system as an organization. Number two, another element is that OD is based on the application OD is based on the application and transfer of behavioral science. Is based on the application and transfer of behavioral science, knowledge and practice. So we are talking about behavioral science, which means we are looking at simply the study of behavior of people. Yeah, remember what I said is that we normally face challenges when it comes to change in organizations because the people that work for the organization tend to resist. Resistance here, it's a what? It's a behavior. But that resistance sometimes comes in because of certain things. So it means we have to understand what is it causing this particular behavior. Is it an issue to do with leadership? Is it to do with the group dynamics, the group differences that are there? Is it to do with the work design? Is it to do with the management practices or the approaches? Is it to do with the strategy? Is it to do with the organization design? So in so doing, it means we will understand also behavioral science to say why is it that people are behaving in a certain way. Remember, even an issue to do with culture, it is a component of also a behavioral science. Okay? So it means the emphasis is also changing in terms of people's what? Behavior. Okay? So if it means you're changing a culture, what it means is that you're also eventually going to change the behavior of this particular person. Okay? Another element is that OD is an adaptive process. Is an adaptive process for planning and implementing change. For planning and implementing change. So what does it mean when we are saying adaptive?
It can suit.
It can suit, right? So if you are saying it can suit, it means plans may change, even how it can be implemented can also can be changed, right? Yes. So we don't have a precise way on how we are going to do things, is because we are looking at this process to be something that is what? Adaptive. So you understand that sometimes we make plans and in the events, we have to basically modify to suit with the changes that have occurred. But also for the fact that we are suiting to the needs of the environment, or we are changing things because we want to respond to something, already shows that we are being what? Adaptive, right? Yeah. So every organization basically has to adapt to the changes of the environment. So if the economy has changed, we're saying no, we're devaluing in terms of the quarter. You find that at the end of the day, the next morning, people have changed in terms of the price of what? Of commodities. What does it mean? We have simply adapted to the changes. Okay? The last element is that OG involves design implementation, involves design, implementation, involves design, implementation, and reinforcement of change. Reinforcement. Reinforcement. Yeah, that's better. Reinforcement. So,
Enforcement of what?
pardon?
The enforcement of what?
Of change. So what does it mean to reinforce? To encourage something, eh? Yes. So in management, you might have learned in organizational behavior that there is what is known as positive reinforcement and negative what? Reinforcement. So positive reinforcement applies to the provision of rewards. Yeah. While negative reinforcement looks at issues concerning punishment. Yeah. So we use these two things to reinforce certain behaviors. Okay. So if you show a behavior that is good, someone will basically give you what? In the organization we're looking at that, we encourage that particular behavior by providing what? Rewards. But if you've done something wrong, then we have to give a punishment so that that behavior should what? Should stop. So the same also with change in the organization. People can have a tendency so because we want to avoid that, that's why we're saying that to encourage people to change, we basically now put in what? Yeah, so back then in Menebona COVID, you find that time in the vaccine and people maybe were resisting. You found that I don't know whether you noticed that was like I was in National Bank and I mean as well I want to encourage my employees I would have 70,000. So you can look at that as a what? As a reward because they want to change what? They want to change things. They want winner yes company go is what? Is vaccinated. But you can see that already with things changing, already people were resisting. We had all sorts of things on social media, no vaccine, all sorts of things. But that automatically gives you an idea that as a human being, we are naturally resistant to change. We don't want to change. Okay? But to encourage that, what we are saying is that we need to bring in what? Reinforcement. And that's what we're looking at in terms of rewards and punishment. So, that's basically they want to go back to the old ways of doing things. And what we are saying is that those people should be taught a lesson by now being given a what? A punishment. Because what we are encouraging is that the change should happen within the organization. Objectives of OD. Objectives of OD. So what are the objectives of organization development? Number one is to increase the level of interpersonal trust among employees. To increase the level of interpersonal trust among employees. Inter meaning what? Between one person and the what? And the others. So what we are saying is that change in organizations will also help for us to increase the level of trust that we have amongst what? Employees. So why are we talking about trust and talking about change? Remember what we are saying is that at the end of the day, we want to have one uniform what? Guys are doing things. So we are sure, we know what basically you are supposed to do. So we can have trust to know that, okay, this person is going to follow according to what is stipulated as an organizational culture. Number two is that we want to increase in terms of the employees' level of satisfaction and commitment. To increase employees' level of satisfaction and commitment. So somewhere I did talk about work design. Yeah, so work design are those methods that we have read in maybe probably in human resource, where we talk about issues of job rotation, we talk about issues of job enrichment and enlargement. But the issues why we look at those methods is because we want to increase in terms of the employee satisfaction. Because what we want is that people should be satisfied with their work, with their jobs. Because if they are not satisfied, then they'll not be able to perform. But at the same time also they'll not be motivated to do the job. Okay? So issues of satisfaction, issues of morale, issues of motivation are basically strongly connected. So what we are saying is that why are we bringing change in the organization is because we want to increase in terms of the level of employee satisfaction. So if we're changing methods on how we work, because maybe some methods that we are using are too long or too tiring, yeah, so employees are getting tired of using such kind of strategies or such kind of methods that are not working. So what we're saying is that if we change, what it means is that we're also going to increase in terms of employees' level of what? Satisfaction. But at the same time, we're not only looking at satisfaction, we are also talking about even in terms of their level of commitment. Okay? So some people may not be committed is because they are not happy with the way how things are being done, with the strategies that we are implementing, with the methods that we are trying to implement. And that eventually will reduce in terms of the levels of our commitment. Number 3 is that to confront problems instead of neglecting them. To confront problems instead of neglecting them. So some managers have that problem in organizations where they know that this problem is there, who might just want to give it a blind eye. Okay? Right? That's when now they would have attention to it. Oh, we have a problem in the organization. No. But what we are saying is a change can also help us to confront what? Problems. So every problem that we see, eventually we want to give it a solution. By doing that, we're changing things. Yeah? But what we are saying is that we should approach this by having a proper plan, and then we should implement again based on the plans that we have made. Number 4 is to effectively manage conflicts. To effectively manage conflict. So again, if we're bringing in change within the organization, this is something that can also help us to manage in terms of some of the misunderstandings that are happening in the organization. Yeah. So it can be an issue to do with the way how the job has been designed. Yeah, as I said, my job description, maybe there are no clear guidelines or clear cutoff point to say, okay, you don't have a clear job description. Yeah? Yeah. So you find that again, maybe you are overlapping with the department chairman. Yeah, and these are issues that also create conflict within the organization. So if we aim to change, what we are saying is that we are also bringing in solutions, or we are trying to manage again even in terms of conflicts that are likely to happen within the organization. Sometimes it can also be that the conflicts are arising because maybe the person has 2 bosses, and such maybe as an employee you don't know who you are supposed to basically conform to. Yeah. Another manager has certain expectations. Another manager also has totally different 2 expectations. At the end of that, what we are saying is that that might also bring in conflict within the organization. And these are management issues that again need to change within the organization. Another objective is also to increase cooperation among the employees. Cooperation among employees. So how can we increase cooperation? one of the issues is what we were looking at on issues to do with reinforcement, right? Yes, if you're cooperating, you get rewards. If you're not cooperating, you'll be punished. Yeah, so at the end of the day, someone will say, I don't want to be punished. In other words, I want to be rewarded for my behavior. So what will that basically mean is that it will also increase cooperation among.
So when I say OT helps in boosting the morale of the teams.
Yes, we can also say that as well. Yeah, because the morale is also connected with issues on employee satisfaction. Yeah, and that's what I said is that these things are connected because if you are satisfied with what you do, because remember that this issue of satisfaction is known as job satisfaction. Yeah. So get this right: is that satisfaction is not arising because of certain rewards, but it is arising because you are satisfied with what you do. It is to do with the what? Job. So that's why the methods of increasing job satisfaction are known as job rotation, are known as job enlargement, are known as job enrichment. So it's everything associating with the nature of the what? Of the job. So the issue is that when you're talking about satisfaction, it is arising because you are satisfied with what you do. Job. Yeah? So the issue of satisfaction, yes, it is also connected again with the issues to do with morale. So morale, morale. So imagine the spirit. It can either be high, it can either be low. So morale is known as the willingness to perform an assigned duty. So the clue there is about willing. Yeah? So just know low morale. Okay? But why would you have low morale? Sometimes it can be you're not what? Satisfied with. You're not happy with it. You're not interested. You're not satisfied with what you are doing. Yeah? But somebody who is passionate about what they are doing, you find every morning you wake up, you are energetic because you are happy. Your spirit is always high. You have a high willingness to do things. So it means there can be a variety. It can be a variation, either being low or either being what? Or either being high. Yeah? And that's what we're looking at in terms of morale. Yeah, so yes, we can say that OT also helps to increase in terms of people's morale in the organization. Another objective, last but one, is to increase the organization problem solving. To increase the organization problem solving. So it is quite similar to what the other objectives that we said is that to confront problems instead of what? Neglecting them. Eh? So it's similar with that. So it means that every time we are faced with a problem, can we have solutions to that particular problem, because what we want to do is to change things.
So this problem solving, is it related to like conflict between employees?
Yeah, we can still look at it also as a problem. Yeah. Yes, it is an example of a problem if we are looking at conflicts. Yeah? Yeah, sure. Okay. Yeah, so problems it's a general term. Yeah, problems can be in so many things. How you're producing systems, what you're saying in terms of conflict, it is a problem that you're having at hand. Yeah. But like I said, is that sometimes people tend to neglect certain problems. So what we're saying is that we want to encourage the spirit of solving these particular problems. So if you're changing things, it's a positive way of showing that you want to change how things are being done. Because the current way of how we're doing things is creating certain problems. Now you want to solve those particular problems. Okay? Alright, the last one is to put in place processes. To put in place processes that will help improve, that will help improve, that will help improve the ongoing operations of the organization, the ongoing operations of the organization, the ongoing operations of the organization on a continuous basis. So what does it mean? So in the quality systems, we look at what is known as the Kaizen system. So the Kaizen system, the philosophy is about bringing in continuous what? Change, continuous improvement. So we should not be happy with the way how we're doing things today, even if it's working. But what we're saying is we should also aim at continuously what? Improving how we do things. Yeah, so even as a person, we have to also continuously improve ourselves on how we do our day-to-day operation, our day-to-day affairs. So the same also with an organization's operation. What we are saying is that we should find a way on how we can continuously what? Change. Yeah? And so by continuously improving, what it means is that again we are bringing in what? Change. Okay? Yeah, so our ongoing operations, how can we change them on a continuous basis? Yeah. Another area that we want to look at is on the growth and importance of OT. So write as a subheading, growth and importance of OT. Okay.